Hello there, and welcome to our inaugural podcast. This is Crypto Diaries, Galphin Karate of Virtual Nexus, and this series is dedicated to informing the every man, every woman on the streets about what blockchain technology is and how it's going to change the world to come. We hope to educate and inform you on how you might capitalize on mispricings in the crypto market or adjust your career accordingly so that you can benefit yourself, your family, your future family, and the people around us. We're dedicated to self-sovereignty, digital liberty, and the ability for people to self-determine themselves. We begin with a poem by William Butler Yeats called The Second Coming, written around World War II, when the whole world was burning down around its ears due to Europe trying to destroy itself again. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. What's happening right now is our Western civilization and empire is collapsing in upon itself. That collapse is going to create ripples. This is a diaspora, a crypto diaspora of us all going to more agile states. In the United States, it's already happening in a nutshell. We are all leaving the big blue centralized cities and going to the decentralized communities. This is also called we had a name for this in the early 2000s, but it's called the exurbs versus the suburbs. First it was the cities, then the suburbs, now the exurbs. Due to the digital economy and also decentralization, it's less necessary, as COVID proved, to live in some big Manhattan or San Francisco because you can just connect over the internet and have a much better quality of life for less money. This podcast is dedicated to digital sovereignty, self-sovereignty, and liberty, and the ability to self-determine your own fate. All right, cryptocurrencies and blockchain investments are extremely speculative and risky. The regulatory frameworks as such are risky for a novice, inexperienced, and experienced investors because they fall outside the regulatory frameworks. Because of their novel nature, the industry is fraught with scams and schemes and frauds. So watch out, do your own research. We will never tell you to buy or sell any specific asset or issue. However, we will teach you how we do it so you may apply it in your own lives and potentially capitalize on mispricings in the cryptocurrency and blockchain market. Now, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about blockchain fundamentals in this series. Very specifically today, we're going to talk about the Bitcoin Whitepaper, public key cryptography, or as you see here, public key infrastructure. And that's all we're going to discuss today. But over this series, we'll talk about Byzantine generalist problem, Byzantine fault tolerance, simple blockchain, transaction of blocks, Ethereum wallets, and a summary. But remember, this is not a technical discussion, although to many of you it will seem so. It is essentially a high-level overview to let you know how the technology works so you can prepare and capitalize. All right. The Bitcoin white paper was released in 2009 by an anonymous creator named Satoshi Nakamoto. There is a real Satoshi Nakamoto out there. It is not the person who wrote this paper. Now, we don't know if it's a person or people. In the seed block of Bitcoin, it has this Financial Times article here with the heading, Chancellor on the Brink of Second Bailout for Banks. What better time and more apropos time than now when multiple banks are failing? We punted the ball in 2008, and we used debt finance to avoid the depression that we're essentially in. We've been kicking the can down the road, and like a drug addict, been shooting up on free money, and that is about to blow. Okay? There's a way out of this. These are what we call on-ramps. We used to call them off-ramps, but this is a way of liquidity to escape the monopoly that paper money has. They just keep printing money. The banks get it cheap. They buy things up before inflation hits, and then we get paid with wages that buy less. This is a way around that we're using. All right, so Satoshi Nakamoto. These top cryptographers, clockwise from the left, are David Shaw with the white beard, Hal Finney, may rest in peace, and Len Sassaman, may rest in peace as well. Many people think it's Hal Finney. It's most likely a collaboration between Len and Hal Finney, to my opinion. But Len Sassaman was most likely candidate for Satoshi, quote him or herself. And there's an article here, Evan Hatch on Medium, Len Sassaman and Satoshi. I suggest you look it up and read it. Most people don't know, like they think it's Hal Finney, but Hal Finney would have had written a bunch of emails to himself on the BitTalk forums and other places. Ridiculous. Brilliant philosophical cryptographers here that give away their knowledge for free are not known for this kind of clout and hype chasing. Plus, they wouldn't have known that this thing would have become so big. People worry about who Satoshi is because they worry some government entity or deep state entity created basically a dangerous technology out there. But Bitcoin uses well-known technologies such as SHA-256 encryption, which has been in the public domain for many, many years and is well known not to be flawed. Now, Ethereum upgrades this encryption to ECDSA, which is elliptical curve digital signature algorithm, which has smaller keys for the same encryption, which makes it more efficient. We'll talk about that some other time. So, we don't know who Satoshi is or are. These are the likely candidates. All right. Now, public key cryptography. This is a high-level discussion from a logical standpoint. It will not be completely technically accurate. It's only to illustrate what it means, and so that an average every person can understand, so that they can prepare, capitalize, benefit, and maybe even encourage it. Some of you may want to study cryptography. If you do, I recommend going to edX and taking the free Stanford cryptography course. I think it's 10 lectures. And any sufficiently average or slightly above average intellect should be able to do it. It may be difficult, but you'll be able to do it. If not, just do the first 4 lectures, which will get you the general idea of what a key is, what ciphertext is, what plain texts are. In this discussion, we're going to say a private key can unlock and a public key can lock. Keys are generated in pairs of a private, which you keep private, and a public, which you distribute. The way to think about this is if you live in a condominium complex, an apartment, or a high-rise, you have a mailbox. The mailbox person has the ability to lock something in there, and you have only the ability to unlock it, right? That's when you get a package delivered, like an Amazon package. You can unlock it and take something out, but you can't lock something in there. Only the person with the private key, the public key can. Rephrase that. Only with the private key can you unlock, and only with the public key can you lock. So very simply, when someone stands up a node, they sign that node, okay, with their public key, and essentially what happens is, if they win the block war, so we're going to talk about this in another talk, but I'll make it really quick. 2 nodes stand up, all right? They have to solve a complicated math problem. The one that solves the math problem first gets tokens assigned to the owner of the wallet that started the node. When that person gets those tokens, they use their private key to unlock it, open it up, send it to someone else, and sign it with their public key. That recipient can unlock it with their private key and send it to someone else. Hence, you have to have the private key. All right? And when people lose, there's tons of lost Bitcoin, millions, because people have lost their keys. I've lost it before. Yeah, it's probably worth a lot. Stuff happens. All right, so that's all we're going to discuss today. What we've talked about is essentially public key cryptography, who is Satoshi. And I guess I should tell you who I am. So my name is Gautam Karate. People just call me Karate. I was once Staff Sergeant Karate. I rode at Berkeley, Frost Novice, dropped out and joined the Army. After the Army, I've got multiple degrees. I'm a published forensics author. I've worked for Microsoft, Walmart, Fortune 1, AWS. I migrated the first bank into the cloud with a team of people. I understand compliance. I've worked for the national labs. I helped build the first internet in the 90s. People laugh about that, but I technically helped build Microsoft's first cloud, their extranet called Microsoft Business Partners Network, under a guy named Robal or Robert Altinger. You might be able to find him. I worked with Accenture when they stood up and a variety of other companies. So you can look me up and see all my voluminous certification, published articles, or whatever. But that just lets you know that I kind of know what I'm talking about. So I look forward to seeing you in the next discussion. And you can find me at Crypto Diaries on Twitter or Nexus Virtual. I don't really answer Nexus Virtual that much anymore because I'm deep into crypto. God bless you all. Have a great day, great evening, great afternoon. Have a great whatever.